decisions Ngannou made along the way were bad decisions if you're looking at it purely from a financial perspective. Just because they worked
Yeah.
out in the end doesn't mean those were correct decisions. And he's looking at it from the viewpoint of, like, if I was in this situation or if I was advising someone, would I advise them to make the decisions that Ngannou made? And I think, like, objectively, the answer is no. You wouldn't advise them to walk away from, like,
Yeah.
a steady contract, even though you might not be as respected as you could be if you left. Financially, I do think
Financially.
Ngannou made poor decisions that just ended up working out for him in the end. Um, so like, but Ariel does move the goalposts in the sense that he tries to make Chael admit he's wrong for, like, calling out Francis's decisions along the way, but then he always retreats back to, but Francis is financially successful now, so why can't you say you're wrong?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But yeah, but we've gone over why it was a ton of hindsight bias. The whole like John Jones injury thing. The whole like, oh, this performance is gonna propel him into more matches thing. That's all hindsight bias.
Bro,
Like you shouldn't have expected any of that beforehand. So I mean, Chael is
test,
correct that
test, test.
these the decisions themselves were not great.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Of course, like
Bro, we need to
I don't
talk
know.
about this one part, though.
Ariel's always gonna support. Yeah, Ariel's happy that it worked out for Francis.
I mean,
I
dude,
mean, I think a better example is someone like Shane Burgos. Let's see how he does. A better example are like other
yeah, that's
smaller time
true.
fighters leaving the UFC that are more average cases.
I mean, dude,
Francis Ngannou, like he could always do something semi-successful outside the UFC. That was
well,
never a
that's
question.
the thing.
But
Like,
for
if we're
him,
talking about,
yeah, even if he
if
loses out on a little bit of money, it's fine. He didn't. He wasn't happy in the UFC.
yeah,
It's
and if
fine
we're
what he did.
talking about financial success, as soon as he won the belt, he was financially successful. He was,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He doesn't even
set.
care. Yeah.
Like, as he said himself, if he, like, once he won the belt, he'd be fine to just use that money and become a farmer in Cameroon. Like, that
Right.
is financially successful to him. You Once you get to a certain level of money, I'm not even saying, like, obviously, like, if you live as, like, obviously, like, $1 million won't get you to a certain lifestyle, but, like, it would make sure you're comfortable for a long time in your life.
Right.
Like, most people don't even dream of getting $1 million. But anyway, we need to talk about one part where Chael says the pay-per-view's bombed, right? And then, like, Eric, okay, so
Oh yeah.
this is actually, like, I think is just perfectly emblematic of how far gone Ariel Helwani is. How,
Yeah.
like,
That
how
shit was
removed
pretty.
he is from any semblance of journalistic ethics at this point. Chael Chael Sonnen, a retired MMA fighter who runs a YouTube channel and sometimes moonlights as, like, an ESPN personality, says the pay-per-view's bombed. He did this because he's, like, making a humorous point about how no one was excited for this pay-per-view. No one knew when it was on, and people were, like, more excited after the pay-per-view than they were before the pay-per-view, which I think is true.
Yeah.
For, like, a lot of those points are true. And then he says that the
Yeah.
pay-per-view bombed. He doesn't know. He's just making it up to support his point that, like, people weren't really excited for this pay-per-view because they thought it was going to be lopsided. He's just making up this fact. Chael's literally famous for making shit up, like, making
Yeah.
humorous things up that are, like, support his narrative or whatever he's trying to push. It's funny. We expect this from it. How does Ariel respond to this? He asks him, "What's his source?" It's like, dude, you're literally inviting Chael
No, that
Sonnen,
was
a known
hilarious.
liar and entertainer, on your show, and you're asking him what's his source on the pay-per-views bombed?
Oh wait,
It's
wait, no. What's his
ridiculous.
source to it? But I think it is fair to just point out, like he's just pointing out you're making that up. That I think that's fair though.
It's fair for Chael to point that out.
No, no, it's fair for Ariel to say, "Chill, you're just making up the pay-per-view numbers. You don't know."
No, but dude, it gets worse though, because then Chael
Yeah, that's what
says,
I thought.
and first of all, he didn't even say you're just making that up. He's like, "What's your source?" Like he could have just
I know,
said
I know. He didn't phrase it that way, but like
he could have
that's
just
the
said
effect.
like we
That's the
don't
point of the
know yet.
argument.
But also like you're inviting Chael on, just kind of accept the fact that he's like making shit up to make a point and then move on. You don't
Right?
have to like attack the little nitty gritty details of his point because that's just not how Chael operates. But then, dude, he literally compares himself to that level of journalistic like integrity that Chael brought up onto the show.
No,
Because
no, because Chael asked him what's his source, and then Ariel was like, "Oh, me, I'm the source,"
dude, it
and
was
he wouldn't say
boggling
anything else after that.
it was boggling my mind. I could not
I
believe
know, dude. That was so funny.
I literally had to rewind it because I'm like, what the fuck did this guy just say? He just said that I'm the one that reported it, so I'm citing myself. So he's admitting that he's making up the numbers.
That's literally not what the question "What's your source?" means. What's your source doesn't mean who's the person who reported it. It
Yeah.
means where did the person reporting it get the information from?
Yeah,
Obviously, by
it's
that
insane.
logic, that the question of "What's your source?" is completely meaningless if you just say, "I reported it earlier, so I'm the source."
It was
That's not how that works.
it was
What's your source
actually
is
insane.
asking, "Where did you get the information?" It makes no sense.
Dude, it blew my mind that he said that. And like also like also it is funny that he said like, oh, France has made 10 to $20 million, and then Chael's like, oh, reporter, France has made anywhere between no money and infinite money. Reporter of the year, Chael Sonnen. Like that was actually well, like
Yeah,
one of the best
but
lines of
dude,
the
it's true
argument.
though. $10 to $20 million is a huge range. I mean, it's 100% of the bottom end of the range. So, like, what are we doing here?
No, dude, that was crazy, and it is true. Like no one has ever said $20 million. I went back and I looked it up a little bit. The only report that it came out about Francis's money, as far as I could see, is Tyson Fury saying it in an interview, and he said $10 million, and then
And he's
Ariel's
just talking
like,
about the guaranteed, right? It's just a question of how much pay-per-views
yeah, and then
uh
but dude, like,
it did.
how many fucking pay-per-views would have to be sold to get $10 million? Like Chael made a good point. That would be like an unimaginable number of pay-per-views to make $10 million in bonuses. But anyway, like Ariel was kind of being stupid about that, and also I thought it was hilarious that he was comparing his journalistic like ethics to Chael's, who's literally a known liar. Like that's his shtick. Undefeated,
No.
undisputed is his nickname. Like his nickname is the P Chael P Sonnen. The P stands for undefeated. Like it's the joke. It's the entire MMA community's inside joke about Chael that he lies. Um, I also like the other note I had about Ariel's whole like position that, oh, you're wrong because you said Francis made mistakes. It's like Francis himself said he didn't care about the money when he left the UFC. So
No, I did. No, Ariel was actually just like he's arguing it from a completely wrong perspective. That's all it is.
yeah,
He's arguing it from the wrong perspective. Honestly, if he'd even just said, "Oh, everyone doubted Francis, but look at how well he did. I believed in him." I mean, that would have been a better position. I still don't agree with that position, but like that would have been a better position than what he's saying right in this interview because no one really believed that Francis would do as well as he did.
and then I do also find it funny that Ariel was like, because after the interview, he's like, was Chael? You know how he always says like, is this a work or a shoot? He's like, was Chael actually mad at me? Was this a work or a shoot? And it's like, dude, you're the one who actually got mad at
Yeah,
Chael.
he actually got mad though. Yeah.
Like Ariel got mad, and like Chael got mad for sure, but also Ariel like legitimately got
Yeah,
mad.
no, it felt like I mean, I wasn't like because I couldn't see their faces. I was just listening to it on Spotify. But even just listening to it, they sounded pretty mad. So
Like, dude, was it just me or was Chael the one that kept like trying to move the conversation away from the
no, he
argument?
did. He kept trying to go back to like the competitiveness and the sportsmanship of Tyson Fury and all that shit. He tried, I think, at least twice. I remember
And
him
then
trying.
Ariel kept going back to like, oh well, you just can't admit you're wrong. It's so gross, dude. Like,
I
first of
think
all,
no, but the stuff after about like, oh, you called me a weasel. That's anti-Semitic. That shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. I just feel like at some point this gets kind of insane. Like, at what point are we just like deflecting
no,
the
I
race
kind of want to
thing?
listen to his
I don't know,
post
man.
argument rant with you.
Well, I want to listen to it too because I haven't listened to it fully.
Okay.
Um,
Let me just see. Like, I did write down some
I
notes
just
on this.
like I don't know because in general it's like a very conservative position. Like when someone calls someone racist for something and just like, oh, I'm not being racist. It's nothing to do with your race. I'm just saying, whatever, whatever.
I mean, Chael.
Oftentimes it does have something to do with the race.
Well, dude, like, also
Chael hasn't been known for race baiting a
Ariel
little
just
bit.
makes shit up to make it seem like it was worse than it was. Like, he's like, oh, he called me a rat and a weasel. It's like, okay, he actually never called him a rat. He was calling you a
Yeah, I don't
weasel
remember him calling a rat.
because you were like
Calling him a
changing
weasel.
your. It's basically doing a Mott and Bailey, like changing your position back and forth.
Yeah, you are.
Chael was changing his position too. Like, they're not exactly
Yeah, they
exemplaries of
both are.
logic, but but like,
Neither of them. I expected Ariel to be better, though. But the problem is, I expect Ariel to be better. Like Chael, you expect
no, dude, Ariel's
he's
actually
gonna
an
Chael.
idiot. Like, I know he's college
Yeah, but
educated, but
Ariel just sucks at arguing, though. Yeah.
no, he's actually
Yeah, just because
stupid.
you're college, dude, just because you're college educated doesn't mean shit. Okay,
No,
like
I know.
if I
I
could
was
have,
making it's kind of like, but like, no, he's actually dumb. Like, I don't
yeah,
know,
he
dude.
is. I
I
mean,
don't think Ariel is particularly smart, but um, oh yeah, Chael was also saying some stupid stuff. Like, he was trying to like dim Ngannou's prospects um, by saying that like, oh, like people need him to fight for the belt and like sign for a 3 fight deal, and also like Saudi Arabia lost money on this show. But like, okay, talking specifically about Ngannou,
bro,
none of
why does
that
that
makes
matter? I
sense.
just don't understand why it matters that Saudi Arabia lost money. I guess.
Well, yeah, of course it doesn't. But like, Chael's using Ngannou to try to illustrate a point that this isn't gonna work out the way it did for Ngannou for other people. Like, I think Ngannou is the exception that proves the rule. Like, people are freaking out about Ngannou because it's so rare that we see something like this happen. Um,
Yeah.
but so like for the vast majority of people, Chael's kind of right. Like, yeah, you're not gonna get these huge one-off fights, but also it doesn't work with Ngannou because he's the perfect exception to all of this shit. So,
Yeah.
um, what else was I gonna
I
say?
also don't think Ariel ever said other people should do it. Like, I don't exactly know why Chael was like, we have to be responsible in our rhetoric where everyone's gonna copy Ngannou. Like, that was never implied by anything
No,
Ariel
I know
said.
that was funny. Like, Chael had a surprisingly like aware. He had a surprisingly high awareness of like your effective message that you send. Like, I heard
Yeah,
Kyle
exactly.
Kalinske
Because
from Secular Talk mention this like in a video a month ago or something, where he's like, it doesn't matter what your position is. Your effective position is like the sum total of the content you put out. So even though I might be a
right,
Democrat and I support Democrats more than Republicans, if all of my videos are criticizing Democrats, the effective cause of my content is going to be it like hurts Democrats basically.
right.
So like it was kind of funny to hear Chael coming at this from a very enlightened and nuanced point of view, almost to the point of like, okay, what are we even doing here? It's like he like ignored Ariel's
Yeah.
point and he's like, I'm above this
Yeah,
and
but
you
Chill
just don't
always chills,
understand.
but he's Chill likes to play with that. Chill likes to make his effective message one thing while explicitly saying something else.
Yeah, that's
Chill
true.
loves to do that, so that's his little bread and butter.
It's actually funny like how he was better at
He definitely understands
media
it.
than Ariel in that regard.
Oh yeah, yeah, but Chill is a natural at media.
Um
Anyway, what time do you want to? What time does this inter? What time does he go in a post argument rant? I guess.
mm, it looks like it's about 2:52 in the in video.
Okay, so he leaves the interview at 2:53:53.
Yeah. Just one more
I want to
point.
start
Like,
there.
I love Chael saying. So Chael's like, Chael attacks him for no reason. He basically says like, "Oh, you're just doing this because you're like trying to bring down the promoters," which I guess is like bring down UFC. And Ariel's like,
Right.
"Whoa." Like, it's actually funny because Chael mentioned this before. He mentioned like, "Oh, you're like hurting the promoters," and then he mentions it a second time, and it's like Ariel's so thick that that like the wheels start turning in his head, and he's like, "Wait a second, Chael tried to like put this in code that I'm going against the promoters." It's like, no, he actually just like said it
I
plainly.
know, dude. I know. It's
Like,
so
that was
funny. Yeah,
hilarious to
like
me because
what?
I
Yeah,
really
like when Chael was like, "Well, you don't think I just said that explicitly?" I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, Chael. You just said it. Like, what is Ariel even talking
no,
about?"
dude. Because I rewound it. I'm like, wait a second. Like, what is Ariel talking about here? He like tried to hint at it. Like, he literally said, "Oh,
Yeah,
you're
he
you're
said it
like trying to
explicitly.
put down the big promoters because they hurt you," and I agree that they hurt you like that. And then Ariel's like, "Wait a second. That must be code because I didn't understand it when Chael said it the first time, and it took me a few minutes to understand it." It's like, no, dude, you're just slow. Like, actually, what is going on? But then my favorite part is this. So Chael accuses Ariel of doing that, and it's basically like an ad hominem attack because he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to attack your argument. Instead, I'm just going to say you're biased." And instead of
Right.
Ariel being like, "Well, you're not even addressing my argument," Ariel's like, "Oh, you're calling me
I
biased?
am biased.
I am biased, but you're biased too." It's like, what the fuck is happening, dude? Like, Chael is actually a genius at, like, Ariel had a giant point, which was wrong, but instead of pointing out why Ariel's main argument was wrong, he just argued everything around it. And it actually, like, I don't know, it like took all of Ariel's attention to focus on that, and he wasn't actually able to pin him down on the main thing. Okay, what time did you say? 2:53.
2:53:53 is right when Chael leaves.
Oh yeah, yeah, I see it. All right. Let's see. Maybe I can just play it and you can hear it through my mic.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
That works.
Let me know if it's working for you.
There he is. What a freaking bitch move that is. I'll throw an
Don't hear
insult
it.
his
I can
way
just
too.
play it as well, though.
All right.
He is.
I'll pause at
What a
2:53.
freaking bitch move.
All right. I'm on pause at
At
2:53.
2:53.
53.
Oh, okay.
2:53.
Wait.
53. All right.
Okay, great. That's where I am too. Okay.
3, 2, 1, play.
Move that is. I'll throw an insult his way too. The first one. After all that, why is he so upset? Why is he so mad?
So Ariel
It's
calls
no
him
fun.
a bitch move.
It's no fun when the rabbit
Says,
got his
"Why
gun,
are you
huh?
so upset? Why are you so
It's
mad?"
no
I
fun.
mean, dude.
He's tried. It's the loudest one. Chill. What did I lie about? I'd love to know. I still don't know what he's talking about, but that was freaking weird. I guess it's hard to admit when you're wrong,
This is
huh?
basically
I
what.
guess it's hard to admit when you're wrong. I mean, we literally have thousands upon
Says it's
thousands of
weird.
hours of YouTube footage of him saying how bad this was. I mean, let's go.
Dude, the one clip
Let's
that he
go to
plays
that clip.
isn't
Can we go
Chael
to that
saying
clip
it's
again?
I
bad or
know.
saying that
This
Francis
was
play a
wrong
better
in his
clip
decision.
though. No, I don't even disagree with.
Right, you're taking.
That's a fair assessment
great.
before the fight though.
I know. You honestly, the
Yeah.
fact that he couldn't find a worse clip than this is like a boon to Chael's case.
I know,
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
It's
And there
actually
have to
crazy.
be worse clips too. I
There
don't know
has
why
to
it was
be.
so hard for him to find.
Yeah, there has to be a clip of Chael just saying like, "Oh, this was a horrible matchup. Like, Francis is no chance. He made stupid decisions."
I mean, Manning never played for the Patriots, but I get.
But
you
like,
know.
this is just a colorful analogy that's entertaining.
That's what he said. This is one of many.
Yeah.
To the point that what I just laid out for you has never even been attempted.
It has been attempted.
It's ridiculous. Well, that's
McGregor did it against Mayweather. I mean, I'll put up my reputation. I'll put up my track record. I'll put up my history against his any day of the week. and I don't even know what that was.
I don't
know
even
if
know
that
what he
was
means
like
by
a
that.
shoot
I'll
or
put
a
up
work
my
or a work
history
shoot.
against his.
I don't know if that was him messing around. I don't know if that was him trying to create a moment. It seemed to have gotten heated, but you
And
never
now he's
really
playing
know.
innocent. Like, oh, I don't know. Was it
Um,
actually
seemed pretty
heated,
close
or were
enough,
we
and
just
I
playing
maintain once
around?
again, and I'll sit here with the microphone, and I'm sure he'll do many, you know, I'm
It's
sure
like,
he'll
dude,
do a
you
video
called him
talking
like a
about this
bitch, and then
uh,
he said he'd strangle you.
profit on his
Like, I
YouTube
don't
channel.
think you guys were playing.
I maintain that now that we know how this story played out, now that we know how the arc ends for this particular chapter, this was a victory. Because let me educate you all on what happened on Saturday. Francis didn't pay a dime. Francis didn't have to put on the lights. Francis didn't have to build the ring. Francis didn't have to sell his own tickets. This was all done for him. He showed up, got a bunch of sponsors, got a cut of the pie, and made a fat check. But the beauty of what happened on Saturday is that it didn't end on Saturday. The beauty about what happened on Saturday was now the next one is even bigger. If he fights in boxing next, it's going to be even bigger. It's
Like,
going to
I
be
agree with this. It was a
maybe 2x
victory for
bigger,
Francis,
3x,
and
who
his next
knows?
fight's
In
going to be
hindsight, it
bigger.
was a great
Depending on the
victory.
fight,
I'm not
depending on the opponent,
denying it. Yeah.
All
It was
these
a victory
people,
for
Chael
Francis.
and all
Hindsight, it
the
was a
other
great
experts
victory.
online,
It was a
and
victory
all
for
the other
Francis.
ones
His
that
next
love
fight's
to be
going
in
to
the
be
good
bigger.
graces of,
That doesn't
you
mean
know,
Chael was
Daddy
wrong, and it
Dana.
doesn't like give
They
Ariel the
wanted
right to
you to
shit
believe
on
that he had made a
Chael or
mistake.
anyone
And
else
now that
picking
he actually
Francis
walked
to
the
lose.
walk
He literally lost the
Yeah.
got
fight.
the boxing match that no one said he could get, gimmick fight, some big Mayweather fight, all that. This is the equivalent. Now that he did it, and now that he was actually successful, more so, Chael's right about one thing. Never happened before. The only thing that never happened before was that the MMA fighter was successful against the boxer. That's the one thing that didn't happen
Other
before.
examples of that.
Well, actually, Anderson Silva was successful
the
against
best
Luis
example.
Chavez, but you get the point. Prime,
What?
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying there have been a couple other examples like Anthony Pettis as well, but this is the biggest example for sure.
Yeah.
To leave the sand mines, to be center, to live in a parking garage, all that stuff. Now they can admit that that guy won, that it was a success for him financially, that he wins out. They can't admit it because they don't want to upset the establishment. They don't want the establishment to say, "Don't put it out there that if you do this, that if you challenge, what's Chael's favorite
I mean,
line?
again,
Turn the
Ariel's
gun on
like
the promotion.
positioning
He'll
this to
never
be
go against the
Ngannou
promotion. He'll
versus the
absolutely never do
UFC
that.
when it's just not. Like,
Company man
he
through
left
and
the
through, and God
UFC.
bless. It's a great gig to have if you can get it.
And Ariel
Company
asked
man.
Ngannou, like, oh, do you care about the doubters? And he's like, no, I don't give a fuck about them. And then he's like, and then like 2 minutes later, he's like, what would you say to Dana White right now if you could say anything to him? And Ngannou's like, why would I say anything to Dana White? Like, he literally said, why would I say anything to him? Ariel's just fucking like fixated
That's
on
actually
it.
just embarrassing too. Like,
It's-
what would you say to nobody?
No, it actually is
then
embarrassing.
Ngannou's like-
It's embarrassing.
Or
I mean, he's done this he's done this before with like more. I don't know, like more just like unimportant shit. Like, oh, this fighter said that. It's like, what would you say to this person if you can see him right now? And then they're like, they're a bitch. And then he says, and then like a month later, he'll be interviewing the fighter they were talking about. He's like, this person called you a bitch. And then he's like, fuck that guy. Like, that's basically what he's doing now. Except he's like using Francis as a vehicle to fight his battles with the UFC.
Let me get a piece of that. If we're going to sign you and you're going to go fight and you're going to go embarrass yourself, let me get a piece of that. PFL's not getting a piece of anything. And as Don Davis said on Monday, if Francis decides to box again in the first quarter of 2024, they don't get a piece of that as well. He has to fight once in 2024 in MMA for the PFL, but that could be in December.
I mean, I do have to hand it to PFL.
So I don't know what.
I honestly, at this point, I don't know why Francis signed a contract with them.
It's very en vogue these days.
He hasn't fought for them yet, so of course we're just like, what is even happening?
These are very en vogue things. And I wouldn't.
He has a seat on their board, but it seems to be useless if he can't even help like a fighter get into the tournament when they
you're all very smart.
Rightly deserve to be in it.
I'll put up my reputation and track record against his any day of the week. If he was truly shooting right there, if he was truly being honest, we could have a receipt-a-thon on Monday. I don't want that. I love Chael. I've spoken very highly of him.
Dude,
this
is just gross.
I
Like saying,
"Oh,
we'll do a receipt-a-thon."
I hope that was work.
I don't want that.
Receipt-a-thon. I don't want to get into this game with him. one of the
Oh,
people that I've said
see,
is like
fucking
my
hell.
actual
I mean,
friends
I
in the business. I
mentioned
don't
them
know
over and
why
over.
that went the way in which it went. My only hypothesis is that he just can't admit that he's wrong. And I get it. That's a great politician move to not admit, to spin.
So
and then
why,
to say
like,
that he's,
again though, like
you know,
you're
catching me.
apparently
I
a
mean, he
great
said
interviewer. Why
a
would you
litany of
try to
ludicrous
force him
things
to
there.
admit that he's wrong? It
The
just
whole
seems like a bad
three-fight thing
idea
was
for an
ludicrous.
interview.
The whole can't leave if you're a champion is ludicrous. I
Not
don't know
really,
what
yeah.
rules he's applying. And then, as I said,
I mean, whatever.
Saudi
Good
Arabia plays
content,
by
I
a different
guess.
set of rules. Saudi
But
Arabia
then
goes
it's
to
like,
WWE
okay, why
and says, we
does
want these
Ariel
people
always have beefs with people?
on the crown jewel card. Like, here, get them on the card. Goldberg hasn't wrestled in a year. Get him on the card. Undertaker hasn't wrestled. Get him on the
Also,
Logan
dude,
Paul
like,
against Roman Reigns. Why do you
have
think
you
that
heard
happened?
Ariel
'Cause they
talking
asked
shit
for it.
about, or not talking shit about it, but like talking about the Saudi Arabian government?
Logic to
Like the
2023,
guy's talking
especially
about
when
like
it comes
them
to
in
the Saudis.
glowing
That man that you
terms
saw on the show,
and like calling the
no,
guy
No,
his
yeah.
excellency.
He loves
Turkey
the
Al-Sheikh.
Saudis, dude.
I
He
mean,
is the
dude, I
most-
know Israel's
arguably the most
normalized
powerful man in combat
relationships with
sports 'cause
Saudi
he will
Arabia,
get what he
but
wants. He is the reason why, and I think it's why he wanted to come on, because I think he was thinking that I said or was implying that no one believed in Francis and implying that they didn't believe in Francis as well. He's the reason why this fight happened. If that individual isn't out there and if Saudi Arabia isn't a place that wants to host fights right now, this fight probably doesn't happen because it's probably not lucrative enough for Tyson Fury to take this fight over a Alexander Usyk fight. But because they want to,
you do have to wonder,
you know,
like,
put on big
why
events,
Tyson took
and
it. I
because
guess just
money
because he's
is-
getting a
is-
big
is
payday
not
from Saudi
an
Arabia.
issue.
But he was,
and
dude. He
because
was
they're able to
expecting.
fly out all these people from Kanye
Didn't
West
they-
to Eminem to every
He was
boxing legend
expecting
on the
to
planet.
back,
They were willing to cut
Ngannou.
the check,
and
and that's why
Ngannou
Francis
was a
took the
big,
fight.
bad, scary boy. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Tyson took the fight. That was weird. That was super weird. Frank, was that weird or am I crazy?
It was weird.
Were you guys in the back saying like, "Come on, Ariel, stand your ground, hit him with
There
the
was some
1-2"?
foot
No,
stomping.
I was pacing around.
You were stressed?
Yes, I was stressed as hell. That was uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was super
That
uncomfortable.
did not feel like a work at all.
Oh, you think it was a shoot?
The shoot's the real thing, right?
The shoot is a real thing, yeah.
That's what it felt like. Yes.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why it got so heated.
Dude, also, I
Oh,
just
really?
hate this, like, feigning of ignorance. It's like, come on, dude. You literally know why it got heated. Why are you just acting like you don't know what's going on?
Wanted to hear from Chael, and now I've just accounted for the dissolution of Ariel and the bad guy, just based on wanting to see Chael.
I know you did say that.
I feel
yeah.
guilty. I was like, oh, I want to hear from Chael, and now we'll never hear from Chael again. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sucks.
This
No.
is your fault.
No, this can't be a thing.
What do you mean?
We
It,
like
it can't end this way.
no. It
Oh,
can't.
I
There
don't
needs to
think-
be a reconciliation.
I'm fine with that.
There was some real heat at the end there.
Yeah, there was some heat.
What do you mean? Some. There was definitely some heat, man.
Nah, I'm cool.
Well, yes, certainly, but also they're both two seasoned broadcast professionals and recognize like what moment is occurring at the same time too. So there's like half that and half.
Well, I listen.
Half the real
I,
feelings.
in my mind, the way I wanted this to go was like midway through, crack a joke and be like, "So,
Why
Chael,
did they
like,
talk
what do you
about the
think's
whole like anti-Semitic shit?
I don't know. Did we hear it or not? Like, he doesn't say anti-Semitic. He's just like,
He didn't do it yet.
he's like, he called me a
I
weasel
know, I
and a
know, but he
rat,
didn't even
and I
imply it
hope-
yet.
He basically said, he calls me a weasel and a rat, and I hope that's not what I think it is. Like that.
Yeah, but I don't even think he implied it.
I think towards the end I was like, now I know what you're trying to say. Now the light went off in my head. But it was weird. I think Chael thinks that he can intimidate me, and the reason why I'm not bothered by any
Also,
of
the
this
fact that
is
Ariel's
because
like,
that
you're
was,
trying to
that
bully
was like the
me.
first 3 months of Ariel
Like,
and the Bad Guy.
it's kind
if
of.
anyone remembers, I don't know.
I
who
mean,
watched
maybe
the
he got
show.
bullied a lot. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe New York. No,
But
you weren't
like
even working at
the
ESPN
fact
at
that
the
he's
time.
like, oh, Chael's trying to bully me, and
the
then
first
he's
few
also
months-
like,
watching, though.
wow,
yeah, the
was he
first few months of Ariel,
pretending or
remember he
was
used to
he
get mad at
real?
me all
It's
the
like,
time when I would
okay,
talk about the
like, these
promotion and say
things
that you
don't
never fought
square.
and you can't talk about this, that. I'll tell you one thing. I know more about boxing than Chael. Maybe MMA, he wants to say otherwise. Fine. He's been there. Whatever. Boxing, I know more about the business.
I
mean,
don't.
He just learned who
ultimately,
Eddie Hearn was last week. He doesn't know who Eddie Hearn is.
Ultimately, I don't think that the battleground, the conflict was based on who knows more. Ultimately,
What do you think it
it
was?
seemed like you wanted to talk about the business end of it, and this specific instance that Francis Ngannou got a leg up and won by leaving the UFC, right? Like in this specific situation, that was what your point is in that back and forth with Chael. And Chael's point was, well, everybody can't replicate that. I don't really think that that's instructive. And what I really want to talk
Didn't
about
I say that at the beginning of
is-
the show?
Yeah, and you mentioned that. You said to him, "I've said this. I agree with you, but here's
also,
the other part of
you
it."
guys watch everything that is happening on the show. Have I not been celebrating this move since it was announced? That was the parts that
I
like,
mean, that would be an understatement. Like,
So,
yes,
like, what is he
that part is
saying?
that part is obvious.
He's trying to say that like I'm late to the party, like I'm celebrating it after the fact. I was celebrating it back in January. In fact, I was being blamed for him leaving.
Yes.
And so how could
that
you
part
now...
was inaccurate, but I think he wanted to only talk about the performance, or seemingly that was his point, right?
Do you know why?
At the end,
Do you know why?
I want to only talk about
Do you know
how
why?
well Francis Ngannou did and not the business, because
Because
his other point was it stunk from a pay-per-view perspective. That was his other thing. That
Right.
if we're gonna talk about the business, it stunk from that.
But you know why he doesn't want to talk about the Francis business perspective? Because he's wrong. Because he's been telling his audience for the past 10 months that Francis made a mistake. That Francis maybe
Dude,
he didn't
again,
fumble the bag.
like,
He doesn't strike me as a fumble
Ariel's
the
just
bag
missing
kind of
a
guy.
point here.
But he's wrong, and he doesn't want to concede. So what can he say? He could say, "Oh, let's talk about the fight. It was great."
I mean,
Because that's an okay thing. A pundit could be wrong. Lord knows he's been wrong.
I
Everyone's
don't
wrong.
know. I
Everyone
mean,
thought Izzy was going to win. Let's talk about the
of course,
pay-per-view,
Chael.
because that stung.
Yeah, Chael's
Here to
like
talk
pushing
about
the
Francis'
effective
fight.
message. Chael's
That's
effective
the story.
message,
Francis
even
won
after the fight, is
the
basically like
match. Francis won the fight.
pretty
Francis
much
won the
shitting
night.
on Francis
won the
Ngannou as
year.
well.
How could you say
As
otherwise
much
at
as
this point?
it's possible
Truly.
to in the
Because
situation.
again, Francis didn't have to
Like
pay a dime.
I think Ariel is
He didn't
correct
lose
that
any money.
Chael doesn't want to
Now
even
you're
give Francis
conflating the two
credit
when you're
for
saying that event lost
his
money.
success at this point.
Francis didn't lose shit.
Yeah, he didn't want to.
Francis didn't
But
have
that's
to pay
different
a
from
dime.
saying that, like,
Yeah, Francis did not
he
foot
was
the bill
wrong.
for
Yeah,
the
no.
aspects of that.
I think
was
you can
all-
say
It
he's
just-
wrong
just about the
now.
precision
I'm
in it,
assuming,
yeah.
but I
His
was all a
effective
net
message is
positive
wrong
for-
now.
for Mr.
Yeah.
Ngannou. So
I mean, I
it
just
felt
yeah,
like
I
they were
think
trying to move the goalposts
Ariel's
on
just
us. Like, it's like, yo,
imprecise
man, I'm
in
here
what
to
he's trying to say. That's all
I'm
it
showing you
is.
the clip of you saying that this was a disaster of an idea and it's not going to work out this and that. Well, not only did the
Also,
fight
like,
live
dude,
up,
is
the guy
Oh,
is
won,
he
and
actually
now the best
stupid?
part
Because
about it
that's
is,
not
as
what
we
the like.
spin
I
this
feel like
forward or attempt to,
his
he's going to
The
make
clip was
analysis
shitting
and
on the
reasoning
fight
skills
itself.
in his next fight.
The clip was shitting on
Now,
the idea of the
promoters who were
fight,
laughing at
which is
him
very
3
fair.
months
It's
ago
more
are
than fair
begging
for any
him to
combat
do
sports
business.
fan. They
is
should
it
Now
they
it's
should
like,
agree
I
with
don't
that
even think it was
idea.
shitting on the
fight a
idea.
top
It's just
30
saying
guy
like
and
it's
work
gonna
your way
be
up.
Because he
extremely
was saying the
lopsided.
fight was
for him
lopsided.
to fight their
He was
top
saying the
guy.
fight was
How is that
lopsided
not a
because
victory?
you have an
Financially or
athlete who's
otherwise? And how
effectively
could a smart guy
competing
like
in a
Chael,
completely
I refuse
different
to believe
sport.
that he doesn't truly
That's true.
see this.
That's
not
completely
recognize
true.
that the Saudi
Right,
Arabian
exactly.
group,
But like
whatever you want to
I
call
feel like
them,
Ariel
they
has
get to play by a
horrible
different set of
analysis
rules.
skills because
This isn't the old
that's
Oh, yeah,
not
he's
what the
just
game.
not
clip was.
comprehending.
The game has changed.
Yeah.
And I would think that someone like him would recognize that. And I felt, correct me if you guys feel
But
otherwise.
this
I felt like
point's
he
also
wasn't
kind of
conceding
stupid.
that
Like
point.
financial
He was just
solvency
yelling.
Oh,
doesn't
no, he was
matter
not-
for
he was
events
not
anymore
conceding that point. He
because
was
the
doubling
because the
down.
Saudis are in
He in
boxing.
fact said,
Yeah, that
I
is.
don't want to
That's
misquote him. I think
clearly
he said
unsustainable. Like, how
that
much
from a
longer can
competitive
you keep doing
standpoint, he
that?
lost. From a financial standpoint, he did
The
what was
financial
expected,
solvency of
and
events
that-
still
so that
matters. Getting a
equates to
return on your
loss.
investment still matters.
Yeah, it got to a point where no one was.
I
gonna
heard
lose that argument.
Or
Yeah,
nobody was going to
like,
win
no,
either.
Yeah, no one was gonna back down. Chael's a prideful guy.
I
Do you
heard
think, do you think he,
an NPR
didn't
story
appreciate us
about
playing the
sports
clip,
washing like that, and
feeding him crow.
like an official
you think the tone was set?
from Saudi
Yeah, do you think he
Arabia
was
was
like, "Oh,
saying
Ariel's
like,
coming
oh,
at-"
that all of this sports
So,
like, then
investment
he was
caused a
trying to
1%
bounce back
increase
at
in
you.
GDP.
I was. I
Yeah,
would
and it's
not. I
like,
would not. I
okay,
would not
well,
put it that way.
And
I
they
mean,
brought
he
on
knows-
and they brought
he
on
puts
an
out videos, he
economist,
puts
and
out
he's like, I don't
statements, he puts
really
out
think
clips.
that's true.
He knows that things could be
But basically,
shown to him.
but
and
basically
so
they were saying,
I was just
like-
having a little bit of fun there. I didn't get the impression that bothered him, and I certainly don't regret it. If
I'm
you're
just
wondering,
trying to listen to Ariel
if
too.
someone had me on their show and said like, "This is what you said 4 months ago, and we're completely wrong," I'd be like, "Yeah, this is what I said, and I was wrong." But guess what? Still batting 1,000. Still batting
I-
1,000.
I don't think it was that either, but it definitely felt like it got worked into a shoot.
But I don't know.
Oh, that's
I don't know if
possible.
it's for
That's
GDP
possible.
growth
It
or
felt like the
sports
longer it
washing
went,
to
the
change
more-
the opinion of the
I think
country
that's the
or
best way to
like
describe it. It got worked into.
I still believe it's a work.
attract
I still believe
tourism.
it's
work
work.
yourself into a,
I hope-
into a
I-
shoot.
you-
I'm
for-
not worked into a shoot. I don't know.
For
He-
my sake, I hope so because I don't want to. I don't want
oh,
that
then you're gonna be
that
you're
weight
gonna
on
be,
my shoulders.
you're
I'm gonna
be
feel
blamed.
the guilt forever.
You're gonna be blamed. This was I did ask them who should come on the show on Wednesday, and your suggestion was Chael. So
I wanted
was
Chael
thinking-
desperately.
I was thinking like, oh,
look, who
yeah,
better? Who better
Mind,
than
like-
Chael?
because the
We can
tapes have
talk
been
about
so
the
bad.
promotion of
An
it.
argument
We
with
can talk about
Chael or
the
anything
fight.
that's the
We
premise
can
for
talk
an
about
interview.
future fights. I mean,
They
it's
shouldn't
gonna
mind
be
talking.
great.
At least they tell him beforehand. This is what I'm
Little
gonna
did
do.
I know.
That was so weird. Yeah, I probably should have went with DJ after all. You think DJ would have yelled at me and called me
Yeah.
a weasel? Oh my god, that was crazy, brother. That was crazy. I mean, I don't know. First 10-6? Should I change the I don't even know how to score that. I don't even know what that was. And then I was gonna stand in the pocket all day. I would have gone till 7 o'clock debating this if he wanted to. Couldn't care less. Don't make a penny off of all of this. I'm just a guy who shows
Dude,
up
I
and
hate it
does
when
the
he's
show
like, I don't make any
and
money
gets,
off of
gets
views.
a check every couple months.
It's like, dude, what the fuck are
He
you
wanted to
talking
leave.
about?
Yeah.
He tapped
That
out.
makes no
He waved the
sense,
white
yeah.
flag. He
Actually,
threw in
like,
the
what are you
towel.
talking
A
about?
rare
That is
throwing in
just
of the towel.
insanely
Couldn't
stupid.
take it anymore. Do you see the sweat that was pouring out of his chest? Did you see the sweat pouring out of his forehead there? Look at me. Clean and dry as a
Yeah,
whistle.
Ariel saying,
Not a
I
pit
didn't get
stain in
worked up
sight.
into a shoot, then spends the
Freaking
next
hell.
5 minutes insulting
Weasel,
it, Chael.
Rat. Oh, I've heard those before, Chael P. I've heard those before. Still here in the pocket. Head down. Overhand rights.
That when he was implying stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Dan Hendo style. That was crazy.
Man, I
It was
don't
like
know.
he was in a schwitz
I
or
guess
something.
it's
Maybe they
unclear
need
to
to
me.
fix the air condition in that studio over there that he got, that new studio. Almost popped a blood vessel, almost popped a freaking vein. Crazy. Anyway, should we move along? I don't even know how to move along after that.
What did he
That was
say? He
bizarre.
called me a
And
rat and a
to
weasel.
I was going to stand in the pocket all day off of all of this.
Yeah,
I'm just a
oh,
guy who
I've heard
shows
that
up and does
before.
a
I've heard
show
that before.
and gets a check every couple months. He wanted to leave. He tapped out. He waved the white flag. He threw in the towel. A rare throwing in of the towel. Couldn't take it anymore. Do you see the sweat that was pouring out of his chest? Did you see the sweat pouring out of his forehead there? Look at me. Clean and dry as a whistle. Not a pit stain in sight. Freaking hell. Weasel. Rat. Oh, I've heard those before, Chael P. I've heard those before. Still here in the pocket.
Well, anyway. Like,
Head down.
I thought it was kind of like hinting at Chael being like, yeah, oh, is Chael being
No, I
anti-Semitic?
agree. I agree.
Well, dude, first of all, like, Chael never even called him a rat. Like, as far as I
No,
know.
he never called him a rat.
Yeah, and
I
then, like,
can't. I didn't hear it. I guess.
Ariel's the
stupid.
one who also called him a weasel. So, like, what are we doing here? But, yeah, like, obviously, Chael's going to argue he said stupid shit his entire career. Like, the point of Chael Sonnen is to give him, is to be
Well,
the
you
straight
know what the
man.
problem was also?
What?
Even if you want to cross-examine Chael, the goal of a cross-ex is never to get the person to admit that they're wrong. You're never gonna get a guy to admit, "Oh, I'm wrong." in a cross-ex.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the goal is to make them look stupid in front of a third party.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know why Ariel didn't want to stop until Chael said the words I was wrong. That was never gonna happen with anyone, much less Chael. So, he just doesn't even really know what. I just don't get the impression he knows what he's doing.
Nah, dude, he doesn't. Yeah. I
All right,
agree.
I'm
He didn't know
closing
what
on
he
it.
was doing there. Like, he didn't, I don't know, he didn't really even have a clear point or anything like that to argue.
If it's true that pay-per-view only sold 67K, then like when Ariel was like, "Oh, I can't wait till the pay-per-view count is out." Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, okay, so did we just literally catch Ariel reporting fake news then? Like, is that what I'm to understand
Dude,
now?
he's not a good journalist. Like, we've known this.
But no, it's more than not being a good journalist. He literally reported fake news. If that's Like he is
Yeah.
misreported
Yeah,
wildly.
that's true too. Like he basically said, "Oh,
Like
Francis got paid 10 million base, but then in sponsors and pay-per-view cut, he made another 10 mil." And unless he has some really fucking good sponsors, he did not make another
yes,
10
the
million dollars.
sponsors must be insane. Yeah.
No, dude, it's actually crazy how he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the best journalist in MMA. I have 13 trophies to prove it, and I source myself in my reporting. I'm my own source in
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
reporting."
What the fuck is that?
It's it's like what the yeah, actually
Yeah,
what the
the
fuck is
sourcing
that?
yourself thing is actually like retarded. Yeah, whatever.
Like dude, I don't know how anyone can call him a journalist at this point. Like journalism has fallen a long way, but he doesn't even attempt to try to be truthful or honest. He literally said, he's like, "Oh, you're calling me biased against the UFC? Well, I am biased against the UFC. But you almost fought Francis Ngannou, so you're biased against him too." I did like the point where he's like, where Chael's like, "You're calling me a coward? I almost fought Francis Ngannou, and you're calling me a coward? How do you square that?" It's like, okay, that is kind of a funny point. Like, he almost came to blows with Francis, which I never heard that before.
Me neither.
But it is kind of a funny visual, and it is
All
a
right, well,
good point.
I'm gonna call it for today. I'm exhausted. Let's watch the
All right,
fights tomorrow,
yeah,
though.
dude, that interview was stupid, but I think we got the most of it
Yeah,
out
we
of it.
got it.
Dude, okay. One more thing before I let you go, though, just about like the Francis
Okay.
Ngannou thing in general. People are like, "This is the greatest event of our lifetime. Francis is like a one in a generation star." This guy that I work with texted me afterwards, and he's like, "Francis is the GOAT of MMA, even replacing John Jones." I'm like, "Okay, dude. Like, what the fuck is this? Is what he said. He's the people's champ now. He will only gain more opportunities now. Happy for him. He will fight in both MMA and boxing at the highest level, age 37. That's fucking insane, bro. Possibly the GOAT over John at this point." I'm like, dude, what? What? He's had one title
I
defense,
mean,
which he
yeah,
arguably
he's had one
lost.
title defense. I agree. It's a how do you? But yeah, it's very hard to rate fights like these because first of all, it's impossible to rate. Like, how can you take a boxing match and then rate it in an MMA context?
I think,
You know, like how can you make a box? It's very hard, and then
well,
also just like,
let
yeah,
me,
where does this type of stuff fall? Like a good performance that's a loss in a boxing match coming
well,
from
right. Let
MMA.
me run
It's
this
very hard
past
for
you.
me to like put that somewhere.
Let me run this past you because this is kind of my opinion on the matter. People are like super high on Francis right now, but when we go through history, this is just going to show up as another loss on Francis's record. And I can
Yeah, yeah.
easily foresee a future where Francis fights AJ, Anthony Joshua, he fights Deontay Wilder or boxes them. He loses both. He loses to both of them. Looks good on, like, he looks competitive with them, but he ultimately loses to them. He doesn't get starched or anything. Loses another lackluster decision like this fight. This fight wasn't really entertaining, except for like the shock factor. If you look at it just as a fight, like without knowing either of the guys, you'd be like, this fucking sucked. Like it was boring. There's like 2 strikes landed by Francis in one of the rounds. It's just like such low output in a boring fight. I I just don't think that like when we look through the greatest performances in history, this is going to stand the test of time. I really don't.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think the further we get it removed from this fight, the more important the fact that he didn't actually get the win over Tyson. Like officially, he didn't get the win over him. I think that's
Right,
gonna
right.
like
That's
in
definitely true.
increase in importance.
It's that's what I was saying about Volk versus Makachev too. Like, yeah, right now everyone's letting Volk short notice, all that stuff, but long term, we're just gonna go down as a loss.
Yeah,
0-2 in the trilogy.
yeah. All right. Well,
All
yeah, I
right.
think we're an opinion on that.
Yeah, I mean,
Alright.
whatever. It's cool. It's cool what Francis did. This interview was a little unhinged. Ariel continues to go down in my like MMA show rankings, but he does get the best interviews, so it's kind of hard to not
mean,
watch him at all.
It's I don't yeah. His show's getting really annoying though. Like he's interviewing
Yeah, his show's getting really bad.
so
But you
much
just have to
boxing
skip to the
people.
interviews now, I guess.
He's interviewing like Saudi Arabian princes or officials or whatever, and like
Yeah,
calling
that
them
shit is pretty stupid though.
calling them Your Excellency. It's like, dude, you are not beholden to these people. Not yet. Like,
Yeah.
it's so dumb.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, he probably will be eventually when he gets a job for him. But yeah, it's really dumb. He literally said like,
Man.
"Oh, I like boxing just as much as I like MMA." He's never actually liked MMA for the sport. He just has liked it for the spectacle of it and like the soap opera aspects. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that's my purest
That's fine though.
bitch.
Yeah, I mean,
Coming out.
we're MMA purists, but most sports fans in general, for any sport, they don't care about the sport. It's about the story and
Yeah, true.
it.
But yeah, it is just like I can't listen to full shows of his anymore.
Yeah. I don't. I've stopped for a while now.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, talk to you later.
All right. See ya.
See ya.